that if we can do, it will change the governance. Something that if you decide to do from today, and if you have most of the people doing it, and that is this. I have studied about 192 countries in the world. And there is a formula that works without any exception. It applies to all the 192 countries in the world. And if you implement that formula here in India, you will see the change of country on every level, and it will start happening within a year or two, or maximum 3 years, if it's right. And that formula is this. And today is the day of internet, so if you think I'm being factually wrong, you can go home in the evening and you can go on the Google and you can do search and you can find out whether my formula is, because you can go to the website of the study of each of the 192 countries and you can see whether I'm right or wrong. And it is a mathematical formula. Because politics, it to a large extent also works on the principles of mathematics. And this formula is this. I will say it in Hindi. Everybody understands Hindi? Yes? जहां नेता बड़ा वो देश होता है छोटा, जहां नेता नागरिक समान वो देश होता है महान. The whole problem of governance is coming from the monopoly of power in the hands of the leaders. It's not to do with UPA, it's not to do with NDA, it's not to do with communists, not to do with Shiv Sena, MNS, whatever. It's the concept of leader, whichever party they may belong to, the power is getting monopolized in the hands of the leaders and their coteries. If the citizens decide to create an equality between the leaders and the citizens, all your problems will be solved in a matter of few months. And the reason why we don't have equality between leaders and the citizens is not because the leaders are expropriating powers, but because the citizens are giving up all our power voluntarily to the leaders. Because we want those small gains, because we want the small favors. Every time you are stopped at a traffic signal and you offer a 100 rupee note to the constable, you are making the constable powerful. It's not a constable who is seeking power from you. And the same is multiplied in a big way when it comes to the politicians. जहां नेता बड़ा वो देश होता ही है छोटा. If you make the politician big, this country will become small, it will remain small. Irrespective of all the heritage that you have, all the civilization you have, all the talent you have, all the genes you have, irrespective of everything, if you allow the leaders to become greater than the citizens, the country will become small. It's only when there is a citizenship equivalence, only when the leaders and the citizens are equal, the country will become great. And if you follow simply this one principle in your life and tell everybody to follow this principle, you will see the country changing in a matter of a few months. Since we have a friend from Israel sitting here, I'll give you a couple of examples of how they do in Israel. I don't approve everything that happens in Israel, by the way. I don't approve of their policy with regards to settlements. I don't approve of their handling of Palestinian relations. I can tell him very candidly in a spirit of friendship, because you believe in democracy and I'm sure you will accept my thoughts in a democratic spirit. But there are things I admire and salute Israel for. And I'll tell you what they are. I just give you example of, mention Steph Wertheimer, my friend. Now Steph Wertheimer operates out of a place near Haifa, which is in the northern end of Israel. I went by a car from Tel Aviv to Haifa, which was about 3 hours journey, approximately 2 hours, I forgot. An hour or 2 hours journey. So, and I had with me Ephraim Sneh, the leader of the Strong Israel Party and a former defense minister and a health minister, etc. So we went together in a car. We went, he was very curious to meet Wertheimer, he came with me, and they are old friends, but they are not met for some time. So we met and we spent the day together with Wertheimer. In the evening, I had meetings with some members of the Israeli judiciary in the and opposition leaders in the Haifa area. So Ephraim Sneh said that, it's not fair for me to be present when you are meeting the other political leaders. You should have a free dialogue with leaders of other political parties in Israel. So I told him, but Dr. Sneh, how will you now go back to Tel Aviv? So he said, no problem, you just drop me at Haifa station and I will go there. So we went near the Haifa station, and actually I couldn't go right up to the station because I was getting late for the next appointment. He said, don't worry. So I just dropped him at a street corner. He went walking there. He bought a second class ticket, took a train, and went back to Tel Aviv. How many Indian politicians will do that? Next day, Shimon Peres, the president of Israel, had invited me for a cup of coffee in Jerusalem. So I went to Shimon Peres' house. My colleague Ilmas Fateli was sitting there. She was there, so both of us went there. And of course, when you go to meet the president, you want to go a little bit before time. You don't want to be late when you meet the head of state of any country as a mark of respect to him. So we went 15 minutes, 20 minutes before, so we of course had to wait till the appointment time. So the reception area in his house, which is the official residence of the president of Israel, was smaller than from here to the first row. This is all the reception area that was there. And there were barely 4 seats there. And I was sitting with Ilmas, and a staff from Shimon Peres came to see us just to give us a company while we were waiting. And there was no place for anybody else to sit there. After some time, I went up and I met with President Peres. And we were sitting and we were having a 2-hour conversation on all kinds of issues. And in the middle of the conversation, he asked me whether I have read a particular article written by Gorbachev, former president of the Soviet Union. And I told President Peres, I said, no, sir, I have not read this. So, but it's no problem. I can just tell me what it is, and I will do the Google search when I go from here, and I will get the article. So he said, no, you will forget by the time you go. I'll get you the article. So he got up and he started looking for files in his studies, and for 10 minutes he was searching himself. He didn't call any secretary, he didn't call any assistant, nothing. He found the article, he took a printout of the article from the machine, and he gave me. He said, you must read it and tell me your comments on this. Now, Shimon Peres, the president of Israel, is the only leader of Israel who has an official residence. The Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, doesn't have a residence in Jerusalem. He has a private apartment, and the Prime Minister stays in a 1-room apartment. And all the Israeli cabinet ministers, they all stay in private apartments. And they all stay in 1-room, 2-room apartments. Now, there is only one Israeli leader. I don't know whether he's holding a position now, the former Ehud Barak. Is he a minister now or? Not anymore. But he was defense minister when I was there. And earlier he was prime minister. Now, Ehud Barak is the only guy, only political leader in Israel, who has a very posh apartment. There is something called Pinka Street in Tel Aviv. And this Pinka Street is something like your Altamont Road or, like the most posh street. So in Pinka Street, Ehud Barak has an apartment which is a posh building, and he has a huge apartment there. And everybody hates him for everybody disrespects him for having that apartment on the Pinka Street. And they think that his politician, something is wrong with his politics because he is having an apartment on Pinka Street. Now, I have been there, and 3 stories below him lives, there is a Netafim company. The chief scientist who you can't say discovered, but who invented the drip irrigation. So the guy who developed the drip irrigation, I forget his name, Ilmas might recollect, but anyway, it's not so relevant. He stays 3 stories either below him or higher, and he owns a huge apartment on the Pinka Street, in the same building where Ehud Barak lives. And everybody admires this scientist for having this apartment. So the Israeli people think that the scientist should be so successful that he should own the apartment on Pinka Street, and the politicians should not be living on the Pinka Street. When you start believing that the Indian scientists are living on Altamont Road and the Bandra bandstand and everything, and the politicians are living in the small houses and living with people, only then you can expect the country to change. I'll give you another example of a country which Israel these days doesn't like, but was very, very friendly till 3 years ago, which is Turkey. Now the Turkish Prime Minister Erdogan, very close friend of several Israeli leaders till about 2 years ago, when he took over, there was tremendous amount of corruption in Turkey. There was tremendous amount of authoritarianism in Turkey, tremendous amount of fraud taking place. And he changed everything overnight, in one day, 24 hours. Now, how do you bring about a change in 24 hours? How can even a prime minister can bring about a change in 24 hours? Raviji Iyer, who is a very, very distinguished person sitting here, who has a close interaction with several political leaders. If you ask any politician, how can you change the entire politics in 24 hours? It will be a big surprise in India. How can you change it in 24 hours?
We have one good example. Chief Minister, he lives in a rented
Yes, exactly. So that's a very good example. So, but what the Turkish Prime Minister did, he took a rental apartment, but he didn't stop there. When he gave his inaugural speech in the parliament, he said that there is a law that I'm going to, there is a rule that I'm going to introduce, and for which I don't need the acceptance of the endorsement of the parliament, which I can introduce myself just with an executive order, with the order which is signed by the Prime Minister. And that is, he said that from now onwards, members of parliament will not have their own houses and red light cars. He said, and then his last sentence in that speech was very interesting. He said, if you are people's representatives, go and live with people and try to understand what the people are, only then you can represent people. You cannot claim to be people's representatives if you are living in palaces. And in India, the problem is not the politicians are staying in palaces. The problem is that our people don't think you are a politician unless you are living in a palace. If you start disrespecting every politician who is accumulating undue wealth, I will not say wealth. Wealth, you must accumulate wealth, I respect. But undue wealth, unaccounted wealth, they will not have any place in the society. And country after country have made it possible. Turkey made it possible. Until Turkey went on a totally wrong track 2 years ago, they brought about major changes. Israel has made it possible. UK has made it possible. Switzerland has made it possible. I mean, everybody in the world makes it. So many countries in the world have made it possible. Africans have not made it possible. Pakistanis have not made it possible. So, do you want to be like Pakistan? Do you want to be like Congo? Or do you want to be like Switzerland? That's the question we have to ask. So, to answer your question, how do you bring about good governance? If all citizens decide in their mind that they want citizenship equivalence, the citizenship equivalence between leaders and the citizens, and they show the courage to demand accountability from leaders and not accept their undue activities and the results they accrue from those activities, you will bring about good governance in a very short period of time. You ask any politician, he will agree with this. That is the key. The other question, which was, can we produce light in a laboratory? It's a very interesting question, and also there were questions about research and development, etc. You can produce a lot of things in the laboratory. Recently, Craig Venter Laboratory has had a success in producing life, human, not human life, but a bacterial life in the laboratory. But to be able to produce light in the laboratory or anywhere else, first of all, you have to produce light in your mind, and the problem is that we are living in the darkness of the mind. When we learn to kindle the light in our mind, we'll be able to create light anywhere in the world, whether it's laboratory, inside laboratory, outside laboratory, anywhere. So the challenge for us is, how do you kindle the light in our mind? That is the challenge, and for which we have to recognize that there is a problem of darkness that we are living in, and that there is a problem of sleep that we are facing. So I would say that the Indian society has to wake up from its sleep, from its slumber, has to awake, And when you awake, you will see light. And when you learn to see light and when you learn to appreciate light, you can think about how to create light. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sundeep ji.
We'll talk privately.
Yeah, you will be given order.
No, I can answer. He's concerned, he's the boss, he's the chairman.
Actually,
He's
we are
concerned about
getting
timing.
late.
Okay, we need to, before we wind up, I need to introduce you to a person on the panel, on the stage today, who's a very important person for us, Shri Satish Agrawal ji. Shri Satish Agrawal ji is an industrialist, builder, and CMD of the Kisan group of companies. He has been a great supporter of the Vishwa Adhyayan Kendra and has been sponsoring all our celebrations since the inception of our Kendra. Additionally, he is the president of the Goregaon Sports Club, if anyone wants a membership, and the ex-chairman of Ram Ratna Vidya Mandir and Keshav Srishti. I would like to request Sanjay Kelapure ji to felicitate Satish Agrawal ji as a token of our appreciation. Today's program has been possible because of him.
It is because of the industry we can make the speaker like this on this dais. Thank you very much for the support.
Okay. Shri Vijay Pageji is currently the Director General of MET, the ex-CMD of Konkan Development Board. I would like to request Shri Vijay ji to present us with a word of thanks. Vijay Pageji.
Thank you, sir. I think for the last 70 odd minutes, it has been a wonderful journey from science and technology to spirituality, from the depths of poverty and the darkness at noon to the sunlight and the rays of sun that Sundeep ji mentioned. As we realize, the prescription is as harsh as the disease. But we must realize that we are suffering from one. Unless we realize that we are suffering from one and work towards eliminating it, we will never succeed. As I said, when is the time to begin? He says tonight, which means that it is already late. But through the journey of last 2000 years, what he has demonstrated is that oneness will prevail provided there is a will. That oneness, universality is already there. That famous quote of harmony from a heavenly harmony, this universal frame began, stands valid. Because only through harmony we have survived. But it is the current discord in palaces, treason, and the bond cracked between the father and the son, is this situation which is highly disturbing. His thought that despite the 150th year celebrations of Sri Vivekananda ji, no organization could produce a cloth woven on his thoughts. Forget about taking the motion forward. So by way of providing a ray of hope and a commitment this evening, in my summary remarks, I would appeal the Vishwa Adhyayan Kendra to take this message forward, that still the 150th year is going on. And your invitation to Sundeep ji is an indication of that. So big hand for Sundeep ji, please. Der aaye, durust aaye. We have taken a long time to to talk about the fabric of society which was proclaimed, which was requested, which was sought after by Vivekananda ji, and take the thought forward. Forum is our own. Also suggested the forum is our thoughts, and through using the power of internet, and we have seen that the power of internet does create a storm of sorts. It does create thoughts in people's mind to at least buy a Gandhi cap and wear and start singing the pre-independence songs. If that has happened 2 years ago, there is no reason to believe that a movement based on the chart route charted by Sundeep ji can definitely take a shape. We can formulate that, and under the auspices of the Vishwa Adhyayan Kendra, a small beginning can be made. Because unless we make a beginning, unless we move a couple of inches, there is no distance to be traveled. The internet has brought down this distance. We can connect with everyone, we connect everyone within the country and move forward. So what is our commitment today? If we have heard what Sundeep ji has said, how he has put the whole scientific emergence with the political thought process, with the criticality of governance being supreme to all this, is at least to start sharing our thoughts on how we can be one together, how we can at least live the societies where we are living. And I know of many housing societies where the neighbors don't talk. Am I right, sir? Most of the neighbors in housing societies don't talk. And I remember a joke by the then Minister for Aviation, who was traveling from one destination to the other, and he was told by the staff that, sir, आज का safety और security दिन है, आज जहाँ पहुँचेंगे वहाँ थोड़ा आपको 2 मिनट इंडियन एयरलाइंस के स्टाफ को भाषण देना है. So they all thought that what is the minister going to speak? And they already made a mockery. Till such time he landed and he said, मुझे एक ही बताना है